Right, one of the teammates that you had during that time in Unicorns of Love, who now, I mean, he's probably the most famous name from that team, has got to be Hylissang because of what he's done with Fnatic and obviously amazing shit like being in the World's Finals, etc. Like, this is incredible stuff for a resume, you know, especially when you consider where Unicorns of Love started. What I want to ask is this, though, because everyone does this thing in League of Legends, you might have noticed Vizicsacsi, where once you get really good, it's like they rewrite all of history that you were always that good. Or if you're bad now, I mean, this happened to Nukeduck recently, you were just always bad, and you know, it's like you only secretly got found out later. They don't basically evolve, they don't allow the concept of evolution or that time changes, you know, like you get good, you get bad, you have ups and downs. Who was Hylissang in Unicorns of Love, though? Because I remember when he came into Fnatic, it was actually kind of a surprise pickup. Like, he wasn't the player now that, you know, everyone would pick first with support or whatever. So who was Hylissang in Unicorns of Love?
I think in Unicorns of Love, Hylissang and all of us were not the best macro players. We were mostly those that would just make the plays and win the games through playmaking. And even though he still has this style of playmaking, it sometimes backfires, as we can see in a lot of deaths of his. But he's always there as this kind of playmaking player that can make the impact and can change a game in one way or another. And I think he was kind of this player back in UL as well. He was very aggressive, always going in and making sure that he sets up the team for success in team fights. And this was a very positive thing. And I loved it in him, that he was always willing to set us up for success. But sometimes it also backfired, and those were like the downsides as well. But in the end, I think he made a really good evolution in Fnatic, because he learned the macro side of the game much more as well. And he became a lot more considerate, and now you can still see him come up with some super cheesy strategies with jumping over walls or trapping in bushes, or just doing this kind of weird Nash push that you mainly see him do with his spike, where he just buffs up a side wave and is basically just sitting there and annoying the enemy. This kind of stuff he's coming up a bit on his own, so he just kept evolving, and I think that's why nowadays people pick him as the #1 support, because he's just doing great.
Like, when you have a player like that, where, as you said, basically, like, he's pushing the game to the limit and he's trying to find, you know, like, angles and openings that even he probably doesn't even think exist till 1 second before. It reminds me, actually, of how Caps famously played at his peak. He was also, like, a player that just go in and just do a crazy move. Now, one thing that's weird is, right, people might understand when that works. Obviously, it's awesome to have a teammate like that. It makes the game, like, you've found all these ways to win games you never thought you could win. But the part that I don't think a fan might understand is, first of all, the game League of Legends is always, every game's different, so you can't like scrim and know you're going to do these things. And then also, in terms of communication, it's not like there's a way to pause the game and be like, right, guys, I'm about to literally just flash a wall, hook a guy, like, basically he just does it, and then you just have to just respond, right? I mean, you can't really know what he's doing.
Yeah, you can't really know, and that's the thing in UL, we just got used to it, that he's gonna do stuff like this, so we were kind of ready most of the times. But he would do it in ways that we can follow up most of the time, so it was okay. But I think he fit into UL really well with this kind of style, because we were very similar as a team. Like, I also was a player that really loved to make these plays and set up the team for success, and that's why I ended up playing a lot more tanks as well. Because whenever I played Maokai or Nautilus, I really felt like I just make the engage, and I set up the team so well for the success that we just need to clean up. And it worked really well as well at one point, because I think Exile had some terrific seasons as well, where he was just playing out of his mind with Vladimir Kasadin, and just setting up these kind of champions made it very fun to play this kind of style, where you just set up the team for success. But that also can't always work. But I think I would describe myself also as kind of a player that always looked to do something similar. But of course, as a top laner, it's a bit more difficult, especially if you're weak siding and get shut down early. Because I would say back then I had kind of a different mindset about top lane. I basically thought that if I play a tank, then that also means that I'm just setting up a very good gank opportunity for our jungler. But what I didn't understand back then is that ganking for a tank and getting a kill there is still less worth, because in the end the tank will most likely end up losing anyways on the side lanes, and the pressure will just not be there. So it was a bit different thought process than what I have nowadays, because nowadays I would say it's very difficult to gank for the tank, because then your bot lane will suffer more for it, and you will still get outscared on the weak side, on the side lanes, and then there will just be no pressure in the game, no pressure point where you can break through and make the plays that you want to do in the end. So if you play the Maokais and the Orns or the Nautiluses and you end up sitting under a tower because the enemy split pusher just pushes you in 24/7, then you will not be in the position to make any kind of plays. And at least this is where support makes a difference, because as support you're always there to have this chance of playmaking.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.